Good morning, my dear friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarita. I don't know about you, but I have been looking forward to this video for so long. We are going to do Bath & Body Works year in review. We're obviously not going to talk about every single thing that has come out. I can't even keep track, even if we were just to limit ourselves to candles and say 3-wick candles. I think it would be too difficult for me to be able to list all the things that came out, even that were new, but certainly the ones that were repackaged, etc. I recommend to you Kent from Candle Channel. He does all things Bath & Body Works, and if you stay posted with him, you'll get a really good sense of that. However, throughout the year, I have been gradually nominating various different brand new candles for 2023 into the collection Best New Candle 2023. That was redundant. And we are going to choose the best new candle, the number one winner of that handful of candles today. I have, look at this, all the notes, okay? Because I don't want to miss something, so forgive me, I'm going to be consulting a little bit. Of all the nominated candles here, I only have one physical one with me. This is what happens though. Bath & Body Works comes out with really great candles, and fine, but like you're burning all the way through, you're buying all the way through, and you just don't know what it is sometimes that you should stock up on. And even the ones that I absolutely loved, I considered buying multiples of, but then I didn't end up doing it because I thought, oh, it'll go on sale, or, oh, it'll be around for a while and I'll catch it like at semi-annual or something like that. And then they didn't. And then I didn't have them with me. And I really wished I did, because I would love to be able to lift the lid and like talk to you about it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to remember. I've got the notes. I've even rewatched some of my reviews to kind of familiarize myself again. But man, I'm hoping, hope springs eternal with semi-annual sale, because you think to yourself, oh, maybe something will reappear that I just loved last year and I want to catch again. So certainly that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to be in Columbus, Ohio for semi-annual sale starting over. If you can't find a candle in Columbus, Ohio, I don't know what to tell you, right? So I'm very excited, and I'm hoping that I can pick some of these up. The only physical one that I have with me, and frankly the ones that I did buy multiple backups of, is Pink Lavender and Espresso. Oh my gosh. This is intoxicating. It's intoxicating, and now it's like taking me to a special place and space. So let's start out with this one. The order for these particular candles, and we're just going to go through them, and then I'll have like a few things at the end about what it is that Bath & Body Works did well, did maybe less well, etc. Spoiler alert, Bath & Body Works is, for the most part, a pretty solid show. And I think of them as a really good, like, mid-range company. Are there companies that do more innovative things, that are more craft, that are smaller, that do, like, really, like, more high-end or premium candles, more out of the box? Yes. But I think Bath & Body Works like fits that really good niche of being fairly affordable for people when they're on sale, and being super available. There are Bath & Body Works brick and mortar stores all over the country, so they're easy to get. For most people, they burn fairly well. They've got 3 wicks. They don't like mess around in terms of the format. And they've got a nice soy paraffin blend that for the most part works well. Does it often have more sooting than we would like? Yes. Sometimes the burn quality is not great. However, even the more premium companies struggle with burn. Bath & Body Works is just like a really good solid bet. So if you're a candle lover on any level, and I know you may have preferences one way or another, I really think that you have to always be considering Bath & Body Works in your lineup. And I think that's a really high praise coming from me, because I personally am not a gourmand person, and Bath & Body Works leans gourmand, has always leaned gourmand in terms of their catalog. Although they are, I think, trying to innovate a little bit more as they move forward and as consumer preferences have changed. But for me, I'm not a gourmand person, and I still think that I'm interested in what Bath & Body Works does this month, next month, and can always find candles that I really like, and even some candles that I think are quite extraordinary, and that any candle company would be very lucky to have. So I guess maybe that's the final caveat on this, is that my best new candles that I've nominated here are like not gourmand candles, although there are some that like lean gourmand, yeah. But for the most part, like if it was a gourmand candle and it was new, it may have been really great, but like I probably didn't buy it, I didn't burn it. And so this particular list of best new candles is skewed non-gourmand. We'll just put it that way. So if your favorite gourmand best new candle isn't here, it's not because it wasn't a great candle, it just wasn't like my scent preference, and I didn't burn it in my house. I don't have anything to say about it. So what do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? Is that only 4? Oh my gosh. Okay, so 4 best new candles, yeah, but then I have 1 runner-up slash like honorable mention. And then I have 2 in the category most odd. Most odd candles that were also surprisingly successful, okay? So an honorary 3, so we've kind of got like 7, all right? And I'm gonna do them chronologically. So in order of what they came out, when they came out in the year 2023, that's what we're gonna talk about it. This one came out in January. It may have even come out a little bit before January, you know, when they were like anticipating at the end of the holiday season. But for the most part, this was a January candle. And it's in the neutrals line, as you can tell. It's this beautiful, like dusty pink color, which is gorgeous and super apropos for the name, pink lavender and espresso. The notes on this were rich pink lavender caramel espresso beans and smooth vanilla. And I mean, at this point, it's a scent memory. And so when I lift this lid, like it just fills my body and my spirit with so much joy. Like you cannot even imagine, which is what makes me wish that I had the other ones to like smell in person, just to like remind myself and have that rush, that endorphin rush, right? And this is an endorphin rush because you got that espresso. So it's like a caffeine charged endorphin rush. Yes, this one was poo-pooed by a lot of especially more seasoned reviewers for Bath & Body Works initially, because it is very similar to Lavender Marshmallow, which is a long-standing or a fairly long-standing candle from Bath & Body Works. And I actually even purchased a Lavender Marshmallow candle on the off market so that I could compare them. At first I didn't believe that it was possible for this one to be so similar to a candle called Lavender Marshmallow. But Lavender Marshmallow is actually quite similar if you took the espresso note away. But for me, the espresso note transforms the fragrance. It just does. There's a brightness and an unexpected energy about this candle because of that espresso note. There is a deep caramelized note, like almost a roasted caramelized note in the lavender and marshmallow, which makes that espresso very easy to add on. But I really think that it took Lavender Marshmallow, which was a solid candle, to like extraordinary. This is an extraordinary candle now with that espresso note. And it makes Lavender Marshmallow seem like it's like not quite firing on all levels. Also, Lavender Marshmallow has a history of being a very bad melter and performer. That was the case with the one that I bought. I could only get through half of it. Whereas this one generally has performed quite well, or it did this year. I am fully confident it will come out next year and hopefully going forward, because it was hugely successful for them. For me, the burn strength on this was in between like a 6.5 and a 7, Would I have liked it a little bit stronger? Yeah, but it was solid. It was really solid. Gorgeous candle. And as I said in the initial review, you know, Bath & Body Works does a lot of tweaks. They do a lot of repackages, and sometimes we're very negative about that. But when they come up with a candle that is an improvement on the last one, that's a tweak, but an improvement, I really think that we have to like congratulate them for that and give them the good energy for that. What we don't want to see is a tweak and a repackage of something that's either negligible in terms of its change or is a worse version. And that happens quite a bit. It's a tweak, but it's just not as memorable. It's not as successful. This is the reverse. This is like a great movie sequel that bests the original. And like, that's a gift. It's just absolutely a gift. How many times do we burn a candle from Bath & Body Works and are like, oh, but it would be great if it was this, or it was this, or it was this, knowing full well that that is probably not going to happen. This one is like one of those like wishes that did come true, where one candle that was decent became spectacular once it was tweaked. So that's our first best new candle of the year, and it was pink, lavender, and espresso. For me, it's a scent memory now in January. Man, it's such a great candle too because it mashes up like lavender, which you kind of associate with like calm and spa, and then mashes it up with espresso, which is like coffee house energy. So it's like this really interesting, like almost tension-filled dynamic, and it just works. It's not a combination that should work, and it does, and it's brilliant, and it's everything. Okay, so that was our January contribution. 1 down, 3 to go. Then there was a quiet period where we didn't really have that many new candles, or if they were coming out, they just like weren't that great. So I didn't nominate another best new candle until we got to August. Yeah, I think it was August. It was like that first wave of fall candles, which actually I think came out in like July or maybe even June. But I'm going to call it August, September because it was like the first fall push. And so it was kind of anticipating like August, September. Yeah. And in that first wave, or shortly thereafter, there were 3 Best New Candle nominees. So the last 3 came from this particular moment. The first one that I want to talk about is Salted Amber and Vetiver. So here's what Salted Amber and Vetiver looks like. It was, again, Neutral's line, a gorgeous, like, soft, like aquatic, sailing-like blue. And this one came out in that first fall wave and I think got lost in the shuffle a little bit because this particular candle was not, it was seasonal for when it came out, i.e. June, July, August, but it's not a fall candle per se. Actually, it's a candle that could go for almost all seasons. And that's because it's kind of a bright, like, perfume kind of fragrance. And I said, and I will still maintain this, that it is actually kind of a cousin scent to Somerset from Kringle, if you are familiar. And Somerset from Kringle has like a really nice, like dusty blue kind of like wax and aesthetic as well. So Salted Amber and Vetiver, the notes on that are, number 1, salted amber, and then fresh orange flower, and rich vetiver. So it is amber and vetiver, and then they've got fresh orange flower in between. And for me, the orange flower gives us 2 notes. I don't even know that it's like an orange flower per se, which is a specific flower, but I think what they're saying is that it is floral and it also has some like citrus components. The citrus components here are not bright, identifiable citrus, but it's like in your bergamot kind of place that makes it like more of a standard perfume. Yeah. So when you've got amber and then you've got like a bergamot, it's basically like a very standard perfume or cologne profile. This one does go a little bit perfumey, but I would say in a more soft, feminine way. I wouldn't say like full board feminine. There is something here that is kind of unisexual. It's right in between. And the floral that is in this candle is actually a little bit more green than it is like a straight floral, which I think is really unique and is great. It almost goes like green vine. Like it's a very botanical and green element that isn't as uber sweet as if it was like a straight up like white floral, for instance. And then it's got the amber and it's got the bergamot. The vetiver for me was a little bit lost, but there may be something here along with those green vines that is kind of keeping it from being full perfume, full feminine perfume. And perhaps there is some sort of herbal inclusion there that's grounding it. Generally, this fragrance, though, was kind of mid to top range. It was up in there. The burn was kind of in the, where did I have it? 6 to 7 category. Just a little on the light side, but it was a very high perfume kind of fragrance. And so more than 6 and 7 would probably make it overwhelming for many people. The throw on this was a little bit more. I think it was a 7.5, so it threw quite a bit. What I loved about this fragrance is that it was unexpected for Bath & Body Works. Not so much that it was like a personal fragrance kind of candle, but the fact that it was a premium one. So this one really felt more expensive than Bath & Body Works, you know? Usually when they do like kind of a personal fragrance, it sits lower in terms of inputs and the way that it comes across, so that not so premium. It feels more like a body wash or a body lotion in a very kind of Bath & Body Works place. This one pushed the premium quality. This is one that you would expect to see at a higher end boutique or at a higher end candle company. And so it's probably like not coincidental that I feel as though it's very similar to one that is in Kringle's collection, for instance. It was just a very elevated contribution for Bath & Body Works and an unexpected one. It doesn't smell herbal. It smells unique. It smells just different. It smells different, and it was very successful, I think, for the people that bought it. So Salted Amber Vetiver is a best new candle, and I really hope that it comes back out. There is something kind of almost beachy. I don't know about the fragrance itself, possibly. There's something like bright about it. So I think that blue color for the neutrals line was actually really smart. And I would like to see it more in the spring and summer realm, where it can get a little bit more airtime and a little bit more buzz. Yeah? So that's Salted Amber and Vetiver. The next, or the third candle that we have, best new candle, is Fall Forest. Here's what Fall Forest looked like. It was out in that early kind of impressionist painting set, but it was still like $24.95 because it wasn't a full wraparound. Really gorgeous. Fall Forest is a really great inclusion into this Best New Candle 2023. Again, came out in kind of the August and September push. This again was a super unexpected candle for Bath & Body Works. It was unexpected because it didn't really have a body care or a personal fragrance component to it. And so many of Bath & Body Works candles do, for very obvious reasons. They are a Body Works candle, a Body Works company. Their mainstay for decades has been lotions and shower gels, etc. Candles has become like another really amazing platform in their like catalog, but frankly, they gravitate more toward candle fragrances that cross over very nicely and can be flanked with various different body care and personal care kind of products. Fall Forest is not one of those. And I think initially we all thought it was going to be another kind of like masculine leaning candle that would also be a shower gel. And it's just not. It is super botanical and super authentic. I said this when I reviewed it and when I hauled it. If I smelled that candle cold or blind, I would never guess that Bath & Body Works did it. Never. In fact, I would probably say something like, well, this is definitely not a Bath & Body Works candle. Because there just wasn't anything body care in it. It was so full of greenery and it was so outdoorsy in such an authentic way. Just Bath & Body Works doesn't do those kinds of candles. The notes on it were forest pine needles, woodland moss, and chilly fall air. There may have been a touch of eucalyptus in it, like a soft, like florist kind of eucalyptus, but for the most part, it was a very strong pine / spruce. Oh man, it was sharp, it was bright, it was brilliant, and then it had that like moss undertone. The entire candle was very damp smelling. It was perfect for like a fall forest kind of candle. It wasn't quite cool enough for everything to be frozen, but it was like cool with the eucalyptus, but also damp. I mean, it just felt so deep fall. You've got the coniferous trees, but then also that like vegetal moss. I couldn't stop smelling it cold. Unfortunately, burned, it kind of transformed away from all of those amazing characteristics that made it so unique. So when I burned it, the sharper, like either herbal or pine elements became more subdued, and the candle was much more moss forward. It was kind of like a moss and vegetal candle, and it got kind of muddled. So the sharp and kind of astringent brilliance of the pine needles and of the eucalyptus and those herbal elements, those were like bright flashes that were like, frankly, most of the candle, upon it being smelled cold, for some reason they did not amplify when they were burned, which left it just kind of being a really unique moss candle. But I said when I reviewed it, I just don't know how many people are going to want to burn a moss candle in their house, if that makes sense. It was kind of niche. It was probably niche from the start, but certainly upon it being burned. The strength and throw was a solid 7, I would say, across the board, but it didn't burn particularly well. I had a lot of sooting at the midway point, and which kind of marred the fragrance, and it started, the wicks just were not kind of cooperating in the bottom half of it. So unfortunately it didn't burn all that well, and I don't know that I was able to burn it all the way down. But I still think it deserves a place in the best new candles for Bath & Body Works because it was just so original and so unexpected for Bath & Body Works. I would love to see them do at least 1 or 2 candles a year that are authentic and fresh and outdoorsy and botanical without any of the body care references. And certainly this candle showed us that they are capable of doing that. They just choose not to. So Fall Forest is in this lineup. It's one of those ones that I really hope to see semi-annual sale, but it did sell out, and I'm not sure that we're gonna see it again. Last candle for our best new candles of 2023 is Cozy Sunday Night. And here is a picture of Cozy Sunday Night. It was a stunning package. So Cozy Sunday Night came out about the same time. It was at that early-ish fall wave. I think it may have been the second wave actually, because it was testing for a bit in Columbus, Ohio and in Atlanta, in the test store candle market initially. So I ended up picking it up on a trip to Columbus in August, but I don't know that it came out until like September. Cozy Sunday Night, the notes on this one are warm cinnamon, crystallized ginger, and vanilla bean. And I said when I talked about it, when I hauled it, up to the last minute, they were going to call it, I think, cinnamon and ginger. Which would have been a super boring name and actually not representative of what that candle is, because this candle is a very warm and cozy, which is apropos. Yes, a spicy candle, but I would say primarily kind of a graham, as in graham crackers, graham and cedar candle, along with all of those high, like gingerbread-ish spices, but without it being like gourmand and without it like having a bakery or bread component. And it doesn't, I mean, it's not very innovative. It's within the realm of all the kinds of candles that Bath & Body Works does, and is very reminiscent of other candles they've done. In fact, very, very similar to Cuddle Weather, which I have never bought, because it's actually a gourmand candle, but I did smell it because it came out for Candle Day or shortly thereafter. So Cuddle Weather is warm gingerbread tea, cinnamon shortbread, and cozy blanket. And they are very, very similar, but Cuddle Weather doesn't have like this cedar kind of component to it on the bottom. And it is a little bit more gourmandy for me personally. And I was so heartened. I was watching Kent from Candle Channel, and he put Cozy Sunday Night in his like best candles for Bath & Body Works this year. I was really grateful for that. And he mentioned in a previous video, I think when it was Candle Day and Cuddle Weather did come out, he said, I don't need Cuddle Weather because frankly, it's just like Cozy Sunday Night, only Cozy Sunday Night is the superior candle. And like, I almost cried tears of joy when I heard him say that, because I think it is superior too. And I'm just so grateful that Kent, and he leans very gourmandy, and like, all things being equal, he should have more of a preference for the candle that stayed around, you know, and that has a cult following, Cuddle Weather. But he observed that like Cozy Sunday Night was the superior candle, despite the fact that it leans a little bit non-gourmandy. And at first he didn't think it was anything to write home about, but it has really grown on him. And I was just so grateful to see that, because I hope that it has the following now that we're going to see it coming back year after year. I think it's fantastic. And the burn was gorgeous. So for me, the first few burns, and maybe even up to the first third of the candle, was in like the 5 to 6 realm, which was disappointing. And your candle may have been that way too. I heard a lot of people who initially started burning it be like, this is too weak. And I was disappointed because I thought 5 to 6, it's definitely not a best new candle. I mean, it doesn't really break the mold anyway. It's not particularly innovative. So I was kind of on the fence as to whether or not it was a best new candle anyway. But then if it only performs at like a 5 or a 6, not only is it not a best new candle, but like, I'm worried about the fact that I don't think it's going to come back again. But it was so great because it cleared that first third of the candle and then came into its own. And from there on out, it was consistently a 7 to an 8. There were moments where I even thought it might have gotten it up into an 8.5. And I did notice that everybody's experience was very similar. Once they got to a certain point in that candle, it transformed and it became almost borderline powerhouse. So that for me made it very obvious as a best new candle nominee, because it is, again, as with Pink, Lavender, and Espresso, an improvement on a candle that we have before. And the inclusion of the wood overtones really made it a gorgeous gingerbread, cozy kind of candle that even non-gourmand folks could really get behind and love. And in that sense was a great crossover between gourmand and non-gourmand. Super successful candle. Late in the year here, they brought back the flanker candles so not the wood grain ones, but the like other like holographic shape ones. It was kind of like a late fall sweep, I noticed they did a display of them like within the last like month or so in Bath and Body Works, right before Candle Day. And I asked the Bath and Body Works employee, I was like, do you have a Cozy Sunday Night by any chance? Because I really wanted to get Cozy Sunday Night again. And at first he was like, ma'am, that's a fall candle, so that's not on the floor, you know. And I said, well, looks like you've got a display here of all these fall candles, you know, and they were like the ones with like, you know, pumpkin pecan, this, that, or the other thing, you know, white pumpkin, all of those different ones. And he kind of looked over to the display and he was like, yeah, you're right. I don't know why they're here. And he kind of gave me a sheepish smile and like walked off. So if they were going to do kind of like a late fall wave or a repour right before Candle Day, I would have liked to have seen those wood grain ones. The wood grain ones, I think, were super successful. Remember, it had Marshmallow Fireside in it, it had Leaves in it, and it had Cozy Sunday Night. And I just think if they had brought that back right before Candle Day, it would have been a huge hit. Unfortunately, they didn't, and I'm kind of not optimistic about seeing Cozy Sunday Night in the semi-annual grouping, but man, I really hope that we see that next year. It's like super satisfying and standard too in the fall, like the fall feels, the fall smells kind of like line up. And so in that sense, the fact that it's not completely innovative actually works for it well in a season where we only want so many innovative things and we really want all the traditional feels. That candle has it in spades. So our 4 best new candles then, to reiterate: Pink Lavender and Espresso, Salted Amber and Vetiver, Fall Forest, and Cozy Sunday Night, which I ended up pushing up. It was going to be a runner-up. And it was going to be an honorable mention, but I do think that it performed so well that it is up in the best new candle, although a little bit of a dark horse. Runner up and our honorable mention is actually freshly brewed coffee. So here's what freshly brewed coffee looked like. And this was in that beautiful collection with the woodland labels, which frankly, there were a lot of people who were like grumbled about this particular aesthetic. And I don't know why, because I think it's stunning. I think it's vintage. I think it's classy, but it's also whimsical. And there were colored waxes all throughout in this particular lineup, many of which were super stunning up against this particular label. Anyway, close parentheses. Freshly brewed coffee, and it didn't really have a blurb. I think it was like one of those, like, they didn't even give you scent notes. It was just like, you know, spice up your day with like warm coffee or whatever else, you know? And it was a very simple and basic candle. I mean, it really just smelled like freshly brewed coffee. It was a little bit on the sweet side, as in from like maybe a simple syrup being like pumped in or whatever. But for the most part, it was just a gorgeous roasted, freshly brewed coffee. And initially, many people, Kent included, frankly, just kind of dismissed it and said it's a repackage of Paris Cafe. But it is not a repackage of Paris Cafe. And since then, even Kent has backpedaled and kind of like revised his opinion. It is not Paris Cafe. Paris Cafe to me is revolting. And I understand there are so many people out there who love Paris Cafe. God bless. The one thing I can say on behalf of Paris Cafe is that it is very, very strong. And unfortunately, that was not the case for freshly brewed coffee. I get it. Most of us want strong candles in our house. And certainly Paris Cafe has to be one of Bath & Body Works' strongest candles. And Bath & Body Works tends to be on the stronger side anyway. For me, though, Paris Cafe has a very scalded smell to it. And apparently that's partly because there is a brioche toast note in it as well. So it's not even like 100% coffee, but it's like, I would say it's not a toasted brioche. It's like a burnt brioche toast. There is something very burnt and very scalded about that particular fragrance, which mars the fragrance for me. And I'm a straight up coffee girl. I don't need the brioche toast, and I'm not a gourmandie. So that's another reason why I don't need the toast. I don't like Paris Cafe. However, when I smelled freshly brewed coffee, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I had despaired of Bath and Body Works being able to put forward a strong candle, a strong coffee candle that is pleasant and that is authentic. Most of their coffee candles are either weak, they're mixed with all kinds of cream and caramel, they're weird, they're synthetic, and or they're like borderline offensive, as in Paris Cafe. This is one of the few coffee candles that I have smelled from Bath and Body Works that is gorgeous. It's gorgeous, it's authentic, it's roasted, it doesn't have too many like mix-ins that like water down the coffee or make it like another kind of latte or something. It is just coffee. It is freshly brewed coffee. I mean, it's perfectly named. And again, as I've said for other things in this video, it goes to show you that Bath & Body Works is absolutely capable of putting forward an excellent coffee candle. They just choose not to for whatever reasons. I would love to see them take that freshly brewed coffee base and be able to bring us a few other strongly coffee candles. We don't need a ton of cream in it, but like maybe you could do a coffee hazelnut candle or something, like just, and we don't need like baked products on the side. Just use that amazing roasted coffee base and give us a few other great coffee candles. You can mix them. I mean, a la pink lavender and espresso. And that's another great, great coffee note. It's just fantastic. So I guess two really great coffee moments this year with this one and the freshly brewed coffee. Unfortunately, freshly brewed coffee had a strength and throw of about 5. Sometimes would get up to a 5.5. The throw might have been closer to a 6. It ended up being a great blending candle. So as I said in the review, you could make that freshly brewed coffee. You could mix it with any kind of pumpkin spice candle that you've got, and you've got your own DIY pumpkin spice latte candle, which I don't like. And I don't like pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks either. I think it smells disgusting. However, you could actually do a much better job of it by just having your favorite pumpkin spice candle with that freshly brewed coffee, and I think that would be an amazing combination. So it was worth the price of admission simply as a blending candle, and frankly, it sold out. It really did. There were a lot of people who liked that candle despite the performance and despite the disappointment from those who really prefer Paris Cafe. So I would love to see them keep freshly brewed coffee in the lineup and bump up the volume on it without making it go synthetic. I don't know if they can do that, but I really want them to try, and I'd like to see that candle come around. Because of the performance and because of how basic it is, I don't know that it's a true best new candle for 2023, but that's why it's an honorable mention that I would really like to see stay around. All right, very lastly, I have 2 contributions in the most odd category. These are candles from Bath & Body Works this year that were brand new and that were odd, but also strangely successful. So the very first one that I want to mention is this one, which is Moonlit Graveyard. This one came out for Halloween. I think they only had 3 Halloween candles. This was the only one that actually smelled Halloween-y. The other ones, I mean, for the most part for Halloween, they just like repackage their Fruity Tooty, whatever it is, and with like spooky packaging. They're not really true Halloween candles. This was a true Halloween candle. So the notes on this one, and I did not buy it initially, although I was on the fence about it, and I almost bought it once, but it was just so odd. And then later, they clearanced off these single wicks, and I thought, oh, what the heck. I'll take it for a single wick very cheap, and see if upon it being burned, I can tolerate it. I was just so intrigued. I was so intrigued. Also, by the way, this was stunning when it was burned. The packaging on this is amazing. On the 3-wick, I do think they had like a stagecoach that was a luminary, so it was the same thing, but this one was particularly stunning with all the birds and the moon and the stars. And when it was burned, it glowed from all of those different luminaries. It was stunning. Snatch packaging. All right, the notes on this are tombstone moss, cold foggy air, and eerie incense. Man, this is odd. It's real spooky, and it's spooky in the category of being like kind of off-putting, you know? Like, but why? Yeah, that's what makes it really spooky. It is sweet. It's got a very strong like marshmallow vanilla component to it. And in that sense, kind of in the genre of many of their marshmallow candles that have that sweet vanilla top and then are mixed with something a little bit deeper and richer. The deeper and richer here, though, is really strange. And I think it's basically the moss note from Fall Forest, frankly, smothered by marshmallows. And it's just bizarre. Damp moss with marshmallows on top. Like, that's bizarre. In terms of the eerie incense, I don't think it's a spicy candle per se. Yeah, I just don't think there is. Now, it might have, the marshmallow component does have some like spices attached, but for me, it's almost like a nutmeg or something like that. It's like a soft, like maybe allspice, but allspice has clove, and I don't know that I'm getting quite enough clove for it to be like a true allspice, but I do think maybe nutmeg. It's just an odd candle. And a lot of people couldn't stomach it. Completely understandable. I've been talking about this, I have a top-down warmer. So this one for like almost a month became like when I go out in the evenings to do my evening walk, I have to like extinguish all my house candles. But then I set the burner, the warmer on this little thing, which I highly recommend. It's great for these 1-wick candles. So top down, and then by the time I come back from my walk, it's liquefied a little bit. And then I usually take it out from the warmer and I light it with all the liquid. So then it starts glowing, and I take it into my bathroom, my big master bathroom, and I like take a shower and do my evening thing. And it's like spa-like, and I don't have to worry about like the single wicks not pulling correctly, etc., etc. Already it's giving off enormous strength and throw because it's been melted. It's like the perfect way to jumpstart your single wick, and then also light it and get the beauty of the glow and the aesthetic, and especially in this case, the illumination, which was just fantastic. Honestly, I mean, I'm gonna put this away now. I have put it away. I'll probably bring it out next Halloween. I kind of hope that this one comes back. I really do. It is extremely odd, and only a few people are going to really like it. But I think that a few more people than was anticipated liked and even obsessed over this candle. And I have to give them props for doing a true Halloween candle and a truly unique candle, and really it almost being pleasant. It's a thing. It's a thing. Super odd. Second odd candle is one that just came out for Christmas, and that is cocoa roasted chestnuts. Super odd candle. It would be a little bit of an odd candle even if it had been marketed and packaged and named correctly. But it's even more odd given the fact that it's supposed to smell like cocoa roasted chestnuts, and in fact does not. That's where most of the odd is. So this says that it's supposed to be roasted chestnuts, cocoa powder, and vanilla woods. The vanilla woods should have been like a red flag. Like, why do we have something very non-gourmandy in a candle which is advertising itself as straight up gourmand? Yeah? It is a lot of vanilla woods. And by Vanilla Woods, I think there is something very musky on the bottom. I don't even know if you're getting a ton of wood per se, but it's a lot of musk. And it's a cocoa creamy musk. So I think this definitely goes in the category of like tonka bean, or you know how you get like cocoa butter? It's got a very like cocoa butter, shea butter kind of feel. And if they had advertised it more as a cocoa butter and as a shea butter kind of musk candle, I think there would be so many people who would have gotten on board with this and been like, this candle is fantastic. But unfortunately, with that kind of marketing, the people who bought it were the ones who wanted cocoa roasted chestnuts. And surprise, it was not. And even the people who would have liked, you know, who wanted a cocoa roasted chestnut, but would have been happy with something else, were just so disappointed and dismayed and shocked unpleasantly by the bait and switch that they just couldn't give the candle its due, if that makes sense. As I said in my haul of this reminds me of a Barbie. I had a Barbie. Okay, actually, confession. My parents didn't let me have Barbies. They were like too modern and sexual. But my next door neighbor friend had all the Barbies. And she had a Barbie that smelled exactly like this. And I would just smell it. I would smell it and, oh, it's so amazing. It's like a white musk with like a creamy, like marshmallow shea butter kind of, oh man, this is a beautiful candle. All right, I am actually going to review this very soon. So next week, because I burned it, it burned all the way down. I'm going to do a major in-depth review of this one, but I do think that it was odd enough, at least with the marketing and the packaging, to be in this category. But if one of them has to win, definitely Moonlit Graveyard takes the cake for most odd candle. So the moment has come upon us. I need to identify one best new candle from the four, and I guess this isn't going to be a surprise for many of you. For me personally, the best new candle of 2023 is in fact Pink Lavender and Espresso. You know, when this came out, I said in my review, isn't it incredible that in January, I mean, Bath & Body Works is swinging for the fences in January. I just suspected that this candle was so good, January 2023, that nothing would best it. And while we did have some very interesting, unique, and spectacular candles throughout the year, I don't really think that anything did better than this Pink Lavender and Espresso. And I know a lot of consumers voting with their feet, voting with their dollars, definitely also felt the same. I think this one is coming back, and I think it will for years and years. And it ended up being, I think, a runaway bestseller for them, and perhaps an unexpected one. Pink Lavender and Espresso. It's great when you have a unique candle, which is also kind of a familiar candle, which is also an improvement on another candle that was before, and is a candle that so many different demographics and candle voters can get behind. And it's a commercial success. There's a lot of spectacular candles that are not a commercial success, you know, because they're so unique, because they're so specialized or whatever else. This one fires on all levels, and I think it deserves Best New Candle 2023. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. It's okay. It's obviously my opinion. Very quickly, low moments for Bath & Body Works this year. From what I could tell, and I didn't burn these candles because it's not my ballywick. From what I could tell, the lowest moments of the year had to do with vault candles that came out in the summer. And they were ice cream candles, maybe. There was a peanut butter one, there was a mint chocolate chip, there was a mashup of a rose water, oh, that might have been different. A rose water ivy candle with some other combination. There was something that summer. Yeah. I was only like, I just observed it because they were not candles that I would want to buy. But there was a lot of disappointment because not only were the candles selected from the vault not ones that people wanted to see, but then on top of it, the mashups that they were doing were not successful at all and gross, and just everybody was disappointed because they wanted to see something different, and intensified by the fact that they were advertised as returning favorites and were in fact not the droids we were looking for, if you know what I mean. But Bath and Body Works rectified, they righted the ship, and they made up for it by giving in the fall a couple vault candles that no one expected and that everybody was very happy with. And that was Radiant Red Maple and the Blueberry Pumpkin Patch candle. Both of those were big returning favorites that everybody has been clamoring for years and has not come back. And definitely Bath and Body Works made up all of the goodwill that they lost in the summer by bringing those back. So hopefully, are we going to see Snow Day? Are we going to see Snow Day next year? Maybe. Another low moment, again, from what I could tell, Blueberry Marshmallow Bar or whatever, that candle. And actually it came out for Candle Day in like December of 2022, but very briefly, and everybody was mad because they didn't get one. And so they did a big re-pour of it like in the spring. And the hype on that was like off the chain. I mean, people were driving to like faraway cities so they could get a blueberry marshmallow bar, which is not something I would ever be interested in. And then once the dust cleared and a few like honest people were like, I don't think I like this candle. Like very like Emperor's New Clothes. Then all of a sudden everybody's like, this is really disgusting. There was like no one at that. I mean, it was such a select minority that like stood strong and are like, yeah, this is great. I smelled it. I did think it was disgusting, but at the same time, like, it's not the kind of candle that I would burn. So I was just like, okay. But even the gourmand people were like, this is gross. So that was kind of a low moment, but honestly, it's a low moment that Bath & Body Works has at least once or twice a year. And I find it super amusing. Like everybody just gets carried away in the hype of a particular candle. And then once the dust clears, it's like, actually, that wasn't so great. But it's kind of fun and funny, to be honest. So I don't know that it's like a true low. There were whispers of Halloween being not as good as apparently it has been in the past in terms of like, you know, the flanker, like decorations and holders and whatnot. I thought it was fine, but I'm not like a huge Halloween person. And they really only had like 3 candles for Halloween with like fancy lids. One was like an Oreo and the other was that really gorgeous snake. But the gorgeous snake candle was like very ho-hum. It was like a black amber candle, but it didn't have much strength and throw. The girlfriend or whatever, that one keeps coming back. It's basically like Tutti Frutti on steroids, just in like spooky packaging. And then Moonlit Graveyard, which actually was really good and really interesting, but it was the only one. And so many people found it revolting that, like, I just think there was some disappointment along the Halloween lines. But I don't know that Bath & Body Works has ever really done Halloween that well. Although they do have a few candles that they could push toward Halloween if they wanted to. Pumpkin, Spiced Pumpkin and Patchouli being one of them. I personally would be sad to see Spiced Pumpkin and Patchouli taken away from the Neutrals line, because I love that Neutrals line and I think it's great in that collection, but I wouldn't be opposed to like a repackage of it under a different name. Anyway, there are people that think Halloween could be better, and perhaps it could. Overall, was it a spectacular year for Bath & Body Works? No, not really. But was it a terrible year? Absolutely not. I mean, they just stayed pretty solid. They gave us a few really interesting candles, at least 1 or 2 of which were like incredible. And, you know, for the most part, performed the way that they should. I personally think that the holiday packaging this year was a little ho-hum. It seemed a little phoned in for me personally, and other people thought so too. I suspect that means that next year they'll like pull out all the stops and it will be like, you know, a holiday window on steroids. So, and often Bath and Body Works kind of does that. They're like, you know, they kind of phone it in one year and then they like do a really good year because they're smart. They know they can't phone it in 2 years in a row, you know, but they got to take a break a little bit. They can't like go 110% all the time because they're a very solid company, but they're a large company and they have so many things coming out all the time that I get it. They have to take some active recovery as well. So generally speaking, a good year, a very decent year for Bath & Body Works, and I'm hoping this year will have its highs as well as probably its lows as well. It'll be interesting to find out when and where those happen. My friends, I know this was a long video. Thank you for joining me. Congratulations to Pink Lavender and Espresso, and I will see you in the next one.